morning. Hello everybody, welcome. Let me just get a few bit of bird song on there. I don't know how well you can hear it online, but I can hear it in here and it calms me as well. So we're doing a Bluebell wood today. I'm using my, for landscapes, I tend to favour the Clairefontaine Paint On Verdigris or the denim. Now the denim is a blue grey and the verdigris is a green grey. So basically when I look at a landscape I look at the majority colour, and for me, you know, going sort of semi-relaxed vision, the main colour is greeny, a dull green actually. So this will work beautifully with what we want to create today. And we've been doing a lot of Bluebell woods in class over the last couple of days, or a couple of weeks, because it's Bluebell season, they're still out. But we haven't done one in gouache yet. I've done one in watercolours, I've done one in pastels, I've done one in pencil. So out of all of our regular classes, gouache is the last one. I think it's the last one. I can't remember, let me have a quick look. Oh, and I've done it in acrylics as well. I did it in acrylics the other week. So it's Bluebell season. I try to be fairly seasonal with all of these things. But of course, if you're watching on Artstream, it could be any time. Maybe it's next year's Bluebell season. I don't know. But it's lovely. I just love Bluebell. And it's easier in an opaque paint rather than a transparent paint. Bluebells in watercolours are trickier, but better in acrylics, oils, pastels, and gouache, because you can actually put the blue on top of the grass, whereas if you put bluebell colour on top of green grass in watercolour, you just get brown. So there's a lot more planning involved in watercolour painting bluebells, but with gouache, just shove it anywhere. So I'll give you 10-15 minutes to sketch out. I've drawn a few lines of background trees, the main trees, the slope, and the path. Quite a few colours. I'm trying to keep it fairly limited because it does help with your colour mixing skills to save relying on lots of things. So we're going with black and white, lemon yellow, which is good for the bright green because we've already got a green base, ultramarine, which will give us nice mid-green tones, crimson and ultramarine give lovely bluebell colours, and burnt sienna, because when we mix it with the greens or the yellows and oranges, we'll get some nice brown tones. If you wanted to reduce your palette even further, you can do away with burnt sienna, because you can make a brown out of the 3 primary colours that we are using. And then notice I didn't say the primary colours, I said the 3 primary colours, because I use a palette of 6 generally. So you can draw as few or as much as you want. You don't have to draw all of the trees, you can wing it. It's up to you. It's a damp day today. However, over the rest of the week, it's supposed to get up to like 20 odd degrees apparently, which is really, really lovely. Of course, you don't have to use the green paper, it's just a little bit easier. The bluer paper could help more with the bluebells, but when you're working with something so opaque like this, it doesn't really matter. I've remembered from last week So I'm using my own homemade palette of gouache where I've squeezed them all out into empty half pans. But I did find I needed extra white, and I've gone with that today. So I'll give it till about 4 to 2. Is that enough? So just draw as few or as many lines as you want. Be aware that you may end up painting over some of it though, so don't don't panic if that happens. But that slope is quite important. As well as the track. Spend a bit more time on the track because you're going to need to get that feeling of distance going back. I mean, it doesn't even have to follow the reference image that closely, so just enjoy the process. couple more minutes. Right, how's it going? Is it looking all right? So colours again: black and white, lemon yellow, ultramarine, crimson, and burnt sienna. Got my brushes out, all there ready. Although probably won't use a lot of them, but made sure we got a stabby brush because we love a good stabby brush, don't we? Because we've got foliage and grass and all sorts. Let me move my mouse out of the way. Okay. Are you all ready? Are you all feeling a bit more relaxed and ready to do a bit of painting? I'm just working out, let me get my little 1/8 of an inch flat. Now I want some ultramarine with a lot of white for the sky. Now I say sky, there's hardly anything at all. So I'll be using this to just paint in between trees. Some trees I haven't actually painted. Can you see? So I'm creating, this is called negative painting. I really don't use the word often because it scares people. So I want to create lots of areas where there might be trees. Jackie, I think you're being called. Yeah. I might bring some wider areas, perhaps. And that's going to come almost towards where this big tree is. So I'm just painting triangles, lines, because this will give us trees. And the triangles and things just help create maybe their branches, maybe their bits of foliage. As we're heading in towards the wood, and we could add a few little bits just to carry that through so it's not just blocked in one section, where we've got a few little areas, and they are going to be random. So it feels like it's coming through foliage and trunks and things, because the main area of the glow is over this side. So we just want to we can paint over this at any point because it doesn't matter, it's just there as a background. You can see it goes on white but dries more blue because that's what gouache does. It dries darker and more matte. So you can't actually... I love gouache. It is my favourite medium to work in. However, the downside, if there is one with any media, is that you can't really go by the wet colour on your palette to indicate. What?
Directions to just be seen.
Ah. I didn't think we got one. So we've kind of petered out. I like that phrase. We'll let that dry a little bit. Although we will be working on the right hand side, so I'm going to, do you know what, do I want to stick? I do. I'm going to stick with this, and we'll go with a bit of lemon. Same brush. Lemon. Small amount of ultramarine. And some white. Because we want this to be a lovely glow. And this sort of comes in to play around where the path goes. And we'll add other bits and what have you around. So I'm being quite loose and free. Are you loose and free this morning? So a reminder that these gouache classes do fit on a Wednesday morning. Will be ending in the end of June. Purely down to a numbers game, unfortunately. It's not always cost effective for me to just be sitting talking to nobody and painting. As much as I love doing both of those things, doesn't necessarily work as a business model. So we will be doing a monthly gouache session on a Monday evening as part of our water-based media classes instead. I mean, you can block this in, or you can just do a few little bits. It doesn't matter. You just want this nice glowing light. In this section. And we can leave some of the darker greens showing through of the paper. That's fine. We don't want to necessarily drown it and cover it. We've got other greens that we'll need to put on. Maybe mix a bit more. You can make it more yellow if you wish. Really enhance the glow. Maybe more white across the top area where it's catching, because we really want it to feel like we can. You know what, let's create this white right through the center. We want the dramatic area there, so we can feel like we can wander through and be basking in this beautiful glow through the bluebell wood. But we do need to then make sure we have some decent contrast, light and darks, and in amongst the trees and things, which we'll hopefully have time to do. So I'm just sort of petering out the golden glow with the lemon yellow on left and right. And that's why this little quarter of an eighth inch brush works quite nicely, because I can blob and dab. We'll let that dry. We'll be blocking in and layering things for a while, and then it should all start to come together. Hopefully. We'll play around with the path as well, I think, next. So if we go with a bit of lemon and a little bit of burnt sienna.
Hello, Gouache. Who's teaching at the moment? Can you take a message?
And a touch of ultramarine.
Yeah, I can put you in.
So it's a sandy brown we're after.
Then I'll see you later then. Okay then, thanks, Fern.
Is that? Drawing Gary. That's good. I knew we'd get a phone call from a man today to do drawing. I just knew it. I just couldn't work out which one. My psychic links. So this is lemon yellow, burnt sienna, and a little bit of ultramarine. The ultramarine's there just to dull down what we've got. It's very busy outside, you can probably hear. We're going to do overgrown bits and bobs, so we don't want to go too far with all of this. But it works quite well just to give us a few little hints of background. You can actually see that most of the trees are very, very dark. Might do a bit more white and a bit more burnt sienna. Oh, might be a bit too ginger. Nothing against gingers, being one myself. However, I want to make sure that the path is right. Now, the light is mainly coming in front of us, so it's a little bit trickier today in order to get texture. So I'm doing a few little furrows on the pathway. But make sure they're sort of flattened curves, if you like, squashed U-shapes. We'll go very light towards the back. Might be a bit more texture in there, a bit more white dragging in. We'll do some darker bits as well, but we need to get the path in. It's frustrating really, because we need to get the path in the right place, because the grass has got to sit on top, and we can't have the grass sitting on the path sitting on top of a grass or bluebells or what have you. It just won't work. Some slightly darker areas now with a bit more burnt sienna. I might throw in some black quite sparingly to make a dark brown. We don't want to use that too much, but and allow for it to change tone, because it will. Don't forget, we saw that with the sky, didn't we? It went white and then it turned blue. So just be aware. I mean, if you've got burnt umber or something, you can use that as well. Just doing a few little dots. Could be pebbles, could be stones, I ain't got a clue. And with this blue-brown mix, well, black-brown mix, I'm going to do a few trees, so your colour needs to be quite dilute. Through the wood. I'll do some slightly paler trees in this brown later, but basically what we want to do is just give the illusion that we've got lots and lots of layers of trees. Some of these you can use on the areas that you've painted, or you could leave those as minty green toned trees. These could be trees that you've drawn, or trees that you've left, or trees that you haven't drawn. It really is up to you. But as you get up through the foliage, make it more of a perforated line, and that basically just helps give the illusion of broken foliage through. Make some of your trees thick, some of your trees thin, because we have a habit, and I've done it myself a lot over the years, so I'm not just saying it's your fault, but we have a habit of always doing wispy little thin trees in the distance, whereas sometimes in a forest that doesn't work like that. You have big trees at the back as well as small trees. You know, try and think as naturally as you can. We've got to cover some of these up with foliage. A bit of white. Do some paler trees. You might want to switch to a thinner brush. Oh, that's okay. Or a rigger or a liner. What will possibly start to happen as well is that some of the brushes, some of the areas where your green card shows through may actually start to look grey or blue. It will absolutely change how everything looks, and that's all right. Everything's fine. We're not going to worry about it, are we? Why would we? We're having a nice session, doing some nice painty things. Don't want to spoil that. Lots about trees today. Being a wood and all, you can kind of expect it, can't you? So that's kind of worked that section. So we'll let that dry a little bit, and then we can make slightly darker green foliage to stipple on. Then we can put more trees in front. Just a good way to work. Right, I think that's dried enough, being on, because we're an hour. No, what time did we start? 10:30. We're only half an hour in. I'm needlessly panicking. That's not my stabby brush. Now, I did clean all my brushes, and hopefully I didn't overly clean the brush that was going to be my stabby brush today, because I need a stab. Oh, got a customer. So we're going to go in with lemon yellow. Got my old stabby flat brush. Slightly more ultramarine this time. And I'm just going to use this to create some nice foliage. Try not to make it so watery that you lose opacity. And I know that's easier said than done, because you need enough water to make it work. I know. But too much water will stop all opacity, and you'll basically Don't want to do much where the glow is. That's the thing. We want to keep the glow glowy. But we can just stipple a few bits. We're going to do the bluebells in this way, the grass in this way. It's a woodland, so there's going to be lots of greens. Break it up. You can go over anywhere where you're going to be painting trees. You'll find as well you don't need much water with gouache. If your ultramarine seems to be making quite an emerald tone, you can always add just a little bit of burnt sienna in, and that'll just dull it down enough. I might use that darker green for down here now. Yeah, look at that. If we can create some nice contrast, you see, with darks and lights, really does work beautifully. While I've got this grass, I'm just going to flick up at the front with this texture. About the front inch or so, not everywhere. We'll use the green card as a good base for us, because I have no interest in making a painting look like a photograph, because why do I need to? We've got a photograph there. Seems a bit silly to me. My interest is to make a painting look like a really nice painting. Call me crazy. So I'm brushing upwards, but I'm trying to keep sections. We'll do some lighter green as well. While we've got all of this, might as well stick a few bits in, because mainly the grass isn't where the bluebells are going up and around the tree bases. The grass is actually not. So that means we can I'll do a slightly lighter green grass. Don't forget it's going to dry a little bit darker, slightly more matte. Slightly lighter green. Dotted in and around. Not necessarily where all the bluebells are going to go, because that's a bit of a waste of time. But play about with greens, light greens, dark greens, greens in between greens. Slightly more yellowy, I think, towards the glowy bit, because that's how we're going to help create. See, some of the grass is behind some trees, so we need to stick some grass in, otherwise we won't know what's in front and what's behind. You know. play about. By doing it this way, quite randomly, and I am, as you can see, my brush is in one section, then it's in another, then the next second it's in another. I'm doing that deliberately to make the colour more random, because what will happen more often than not is that we'll mix a colour and then we'll concentrate on a small area with that colour, then we'll run out of the colour, and then we will panic because we've got to mix a new colour, and that new colour won't be the same. So you'll have lots of random areas of patches of bits of things that we're not quite sure what we're doing. So if we can blob about, technical term. You blobbed about today, Jackie?
No.
No.
It's rare that I do that.
Oh, it's a shame. Everyone should blob about more. A bit more yellow right down that back area. Some in front of the dark greens, some over, some under. Really just play around. And you can see that we can actually cover a much wider area than you think. Before you know it, you've got a whole grassy forest and you didn't even know about it. But we want the light to concentrate on the left. No, sorry, I lie. On the right. We want darker tones on the left, lower left, and a few darker tones down there. Because we want to really create this sort of glowy pathway. Interspersed, so it's basically more ultramarine in the green. You could add a little black, or you could add a bit of burnt sienna. Burnt sienna will make it a little bit more natural and duller. Slightly longer flicks as well as you do the foreground, just because it will be longer because it's closer to us. And we can feel that the left hand side we're more into the body of the wood, so our lighter area is more concentrated down here. I mean, we've got bluebells, we've got trees, we've got loads to put on, but this is only the first 45 minutes. few more stabby bits, and then we'll paint some mid-ground tree. Oh, actually, no. We need to do some bluebells in the background bluebells. Then we need to paint mid-ground tree. Well, yes, some mid-ground trees. Then bluebells. You have to think in layers because you can't effectively stick trees on and then try and get the grass behind those trees. You know, it just won't work in that way. Right, our bluebell colour. Let me just clean my ultramarine off so it doesn't go as green. Right, I'm going to move my palette because the colour mix is the important bit for you to see. So we'll go with a lot of ultramarine, a small amount of crimson, and a little bit of white just to help the opacity. Maybe a little bit more ultramarine. Now it will depend on the type of bluebells that we've got in our wood, whether they're British or Spanish. The Spanish ones tend to be slightly more pink. So these are more stabby than flicky, and this is just going to be in the mid-ground area. I will add more white. In some lighter tones. That white is standing out a lot while it's drying, but it isn't really. Maybe I'll go with a little bit more blue, which as we know will go darker. You do want patches. Patches will work really, really well because they're flowers, aren't they? It's not a carpet. You could do some slightly darker tones. And this is all mid-ground. And you might think, oh gosh, well, what are we going to do in the second half? There's all these trees and slightly more close-up bluebells that are going to have to be planned in a not in a different way, but again we've got to put some grasses in front and all of that, and trees. quickly, you can see there that there are blue tones. It's showing up much more blue on the screen, but there is purples there. So I'm gonna go pop the kettle on because it's coming up to past. While this is drying just at the right time, and then we can really think about the midsection and the foreground in the second half. Be back in a few minutes. Oh, sorry, the wrong way. Right, so we want to go slightly darker and lighter with the trees in the background, in the midground. So I'm going to go back with my lovely little 1/8 inch flat. We'll go with more burnt sienna and black. See how strong the black is. Without much thought, the black can eat the other colours, so just be a little bit careful. And these trees are coming further down the pathway, so they're coming from within the middle areas. had a few rooty bits as well. Again, where you may find issues with your painting, and it's not your painting necessarily, it's just the way paint is, because it's paint. You need it fluid, but it also needs to be opaque, and that's where it can get quite tricky. So what I'm doing is I'm flicking out the base of these trees, and also making it a little bit dottier at the bottom. This is not the be all and end all with these trees. We were going to put some highlights on them. If some of them are more black, that's fine, so it stands out. Some of the tree roots are quite pronounced, as are some of the branches, so you can really go to town. So this is mid tree branches, mid tree trunks, so not the big one. You can do all of them, not the big one. And you can add more in than you've drawn. You can see how that's really starting to change a lot. And again, you can see where I'm flicking down. Try not to get them looking identical, all of these trees, and that's often tricky because they're often the same tree genre, you know, the same type of tree in all of these things. So it is quite important. There is a tree behind here. So we'll let that dry, and then we can make some whiter highlights, which are going to come in from the left. No, right, I've done it again. See, it only feels like 5 minutes when I said, oh, we've only been doing this half an hour. Now we've been doing it over an hour. Crazy. Right, as that's drying, I'm going to go in with some white into the tree colour that we made. So it goes more of a mushroom or a taupe or a buff, whatever you want to call it. Not biscuit, I wouldn't eat any biscuits that colour. And we are going to do the right hand side of these trees. I'm just going to mark them in with no blending or anything just yet. We will be patient. So these are all going to be the trees that are in the mid areas. Currently, you could just use almost neat white. It depends how much you want it to stand out, I guess. But I'm not blending just yet. We're popping in, I suppose, any major additional colours or what have you. Well, you can do it with a gel pen, I suppose, afterwards. And again, I'm doing this because I've got the colours. I don't necessarily want to add make it a little bit more difficult for myself. So if we do it while I've got the tone, block it all in, then you can use just a damp brush I'm still using this little 1/8 of an inch to sort of agitate the colour, the pale colour that we just put on. And drag it in a linear way into the body of the tree, just to add to texture. I might go in with some really dark brown shortly, almost black, to get a bit of emphasis. If you've got burnt umber, you can use burnt umber. It doesn't have to be burnt sienna. Whichever sort of brown tones you've got, that's fine. I just find burnt sienna's a good, useful mix. Really let them stand out. This is almost black. as we know from previous lessons, even if you've not done this one, you may have done another class with me, that the second half is always the super fast half. Might stick just a slightly nice dark old tree coming down here. And we let that dry. And a slurp of tea. So we can go more textured in the foreground, well, mid and foreground areas next.
Okay.
So yeah, we need to work on the bluebells and things in this mid-ground area next, and create the pathway, make it feel a little bit more undulating a little. I'm not having really strong light, otherwise we'd have to think about shadows off the trees going back. And also we'll have to balance, because even when this tree's in, which is still technically in the mid-ground, not directly in the front, we've got a band of dark tones, so we'll have to do some dark at the front. So we'll let those trees dry. Bluebells, then grass, I think. Where's my stabby brush? There we go. So we want our Bluebell tone, a lot of ultramarine, as that is the overriding colour. And again, we need enough paint for opacity. But not too much water to change it. So this is, it is slightly more purple again than is showing on the screen. And I'm treating it a bit more like grass. So slight flicks. So we'll let that tone dry before I stipple highlights on. does show up a lot more on the screen than it does anywhere else. I'm letting it take a little bit longer to dry because I need to see the tone before I put any highlights on top. Well, do you know what? It's almost a bright cerulean blue on the screen, whereas actually it's purple here.
Oh yes.
But nothing I can do about it.
It seems to pick up the white base, doesn't it, in gouache?
Yes.
It's more strongly than the actual pigment sometimes. So everything looks kind of paler and brighter.
Yes. I'm not working with them. Right, so more white, I think. Slightly more flicky. Now this will show up as almost white, I think, on the screen. I'm just using the tip of my bristles . I might use this stabby brush actually for some tree bark effect. Right, this dark tree, I'm going to do a very, very black brown. Oh, do you know what? I am going to stick with this small brush. You can probably hear me scrubbing the colour in. If some of that green shows through, then that's fine. Let's make a nice big long root. Of this tree, maybe some rocks and stones and things in this dark colour. Because we need to balance that foreground back. Okay, now let me see if I've... Oh, there is... I can... But you see, what's great about gouache is that we can reactivate. So, oh, look at that draggy bit. For the tree, maybe I'll go with a bit more darks. Just do a few of this brown. Just you watch. So I've got a bit of dark down here. Well, do you know, I've darkened that tree up, but I want a bit of white back in there. Oh, that's beautiful. Okay. I'm going to switch to my little flat brush again, just to make it a little bit easier. Because there might be odd twigs and things just buried in the grass as always. Branches, isn't there? Knocking about. We've got about 25 minutes left, that's good. I'll be switching to a number 1. Maybe a little bit more white. To do a few bluebell shapes as such, and by shapes I just mean dots in like little candy cane shapes. And maybe some slightly darker tones. Maybe a little bit of the brown, just want to emphasise the path a little. Maybe a little bit of white streaky bits just down on the trunk. The highlights.
I love the arches downstairs. It's lovely.
It's lovely, isn't it?
It's really
One's
nice.
sold already.
I know. That's what I said.
Yeah, they're all prints.
Yeah,
Apart from 2 originals which have sold already, but she's put them up part of the exhibition. And they're gorgeous, very whimsical.
just love the colours.
Yeah, I think they're really, I think it's beautiful. I think she should do well.
Yeah. Oh, she's nice, isn't she, as well?
Yeah, lovely person. Yeah, it's always nice to deal with nice people.
Easy going. I have found her easy.
Oh, absolutely.
She's always nice in an artist. Very
Sadly, yes. So this is more lemon yellow, white and a bit of ultramarine. Just to do a few little flicks. I'm trying to mix it up with the brights and the darks. I think I need to let that dry for a minute just to see how it goes. But you can see how darkening that foreground right at the front has really helped create that balance further. And I'm going to have to do something more with the Bluebells. I might have to rely more on crimson and white to change some of it up a little bit to make some areas lighter. So let me go with a bit more crimson. And try and find a clean bit of white here. A few little dots. I'm hoping this will go a little bit lighter. Can't always tell. You see the pink's not showing up at all on the screen. Weird, isn't it?
What's weird is that you can actually see the colour you've mixed on the palette on the screen, but you can't see it going on the painting. You'd think it would pick up either both or neither.
Yeah, that's why I find it quite tricky.
It's quite strange.
It's more so with gouache than any other.
It is, yeah. I think it must pick up the base of it. And
The chalk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Weird.
But only once it's on the paper.
Yeah.
Odd.
I'm going to do a few brighter green leaves. Let's see how that looks. Right, I'm going to go back to my little 1/8 of an inch. Lemon yellow. I'm going just lemon yellow and white in with the ultramarine. And then doing little sideward stabs. So this could be just the highlight of leaves being caught by those lights. There, I think that will be it for me on this. Those extra bit of yellow green, the lime green colours that we've got there, do really lift that forward, don't they? And they give us extra forest layers. It's amazing how it works. And it directs all the glow to that side. Yeah, I'm pleased with that. What am I doing next week? Can't remember. Let's have a look. Oh, we're sticking with the purples because we're doing a Cotswold lavender field with a cottage next week, so that'll be quite nice. I might change and use the blue-grey card next week. I'm not decided. So I will take a photograph of this and post it underneath the reference image in the group. Let me just bend the paper back a little bit. And I look forward to seeing whenever you do this. If you would let us know what you've created, or send us a picture. I do love to see what you've done. I really do. So thank you so much for your company. It's been really, really lovely to spend a few hours with you. And hopefully I will see you all very soon. Bye bye everybody. Bye bye.